Nemo and Flip are in the dream world, and they watch life pass. And they're trying to get through these doors, but Agent Green is chasing them through cities made of broken glass. Broken glass, broken glass, broken glass. Woo-hoo! Slumberland is a Netflix original directed by Francis Lawrence. Barbara isn't here, Mrs. Lawrence. Wait, no, that was Mrs. Torrance. God damn it, I screwed up that Shining reference, but nevertheless, yeah, they did The Hunger Games and Red Sparrow. What do those movies have in common? Another Lawrence is in there, Jennifer Lawrence. From The Hanging Tree and from all that, and I never saw Red Sparrow, I should. Jennifer Lawrence is actually a really good actress. This movie does not have Jennifer Lawrence. This has Jason Momoa, yes, Conan the Barbarian and Aquaman himself. And also a man that is terrific and just has the women and statistically some men fawning over him. I don't know why. I do know why. It's hard not to fawn over a man that looks like Jason Momoa. So this is written by the two guys that did The X, Dinner for Schmucks, and One of the Night at the Museum movies. So there you go. That's pretty much the level of comedy you're going to get in Slumberland, which, if you haven't figured it out from the title, and if you're not old like I am, older than dirt, there was a little movie that came out in the late 80s, well, early 90s, depending on when you actually saw it. It actually came out in the late 80s, and there was an NES game called Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. And I remember watching that movie, and it was quite fun. It was quite good. I mean, I haven't seen it in a number of years, but I hold a bit of nostalgia for that. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I probably should rewatch it again at some point. It was fun. It was about a little boy named Nemo that traveled to, well, Slumberland. And ended up kind of fucking shit up, and then there was a whole bunch of weird shit going on with the Nightmare King trying to take over Dreamworld, and he had to say a bunch of weird shit and do a magical spell and send him back to wherever the hell the Nightmare King would rest when he's not invading the dream world. It was a bit weird, but you know, the movie's also only 85 minutes. This is a 2-hour epic, at least an attempt at an epic, and okay, I'm just going to say right now, basically, it's a live-action Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland, and it's not very good. There's one good aspect about it, the loss of a parent and doing anything you can to find a loved one. That part was cool. The comedy didn't hit at all. In fact, parts of this movie, comedy and visual effects-wise and presentation-wise, reminded me of R.I.P.D. In fact, it's Little Nemo R.I.P.D. essentially, and maybe even R.I.P.D. 2, Electric. How the hell did they make a sequel to a movie that flopped so much? Boogaloo. So, anybody remember the show Early Edition? Kyle Chandler, the guy that was the star of that, the guy that read tomorrow's newspaper and then would try to prevent things from happening. It was a really, really weird show. So, Marlo Barkley plays Nemo, who's an adventurous girl living with her dad on a little island with a lighthouse. She wants to be a lighthouse keeper, and he does rescue missions, and then one day he disappears. He tells her all these stories about these, you know, fanciful, far-out adventures, traveling with a man named Flip. Not Flip Gordon. If you are a deep-cut wrestling fan, you might get that, and also his stupid theme will be popping up into your head. Flip, 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 Flip Gordon. It's as stupid as he actually is. So nevertheless, he tells her all these stories. Good thing he has a special effects budget to show all this weird stuff happening. All these travels to the seas and the Sea of Nightmares where he can find pearls that can grant you any wish your heart desires. And then the dad disappears and she goes on this journey between the waking world and the dream world. And there's a man named Flip, played by Jason Momoa, who has horns and attempts to do humor, and sadly, I don't even think his talents would have saved a movie that even had better writing, because this movie is incredibly uninspired. So Jason Momoa decided to just kind of phone it in. I don't think he was necessarily slumming it here. I just think he probably saw, I'll be entertaining, at least to a degree. It's also a kid's movie, so maybe I'm just way out of the range, but it's not very good. It's really not very good. Outside, again, of the pursuit of trying to be reunited, of Nemo trying to be reunited with her dad. That's fine. Also, she finds out she has an uncle that she has never met named Philip. And I wonder if you can guess how that's all going to tie into the movie. It's not going to take very long to figure it out. And they're a bit at odds because he has his own life, but he has a reason why he's always alone. He puts her in school because he's got to take care of her. He's the only blood relative left because the mother died at birth. And then we see a lot of stuff between the waking world, her in school, trying to deal with Philip and trying to deal with loss. And in the dream world, where she's trying to deal with a man named Flip, a bunch of weird shit, and also personal loss. So there you go. The special effects aren't very good, the dreams are pretty uninspired, and there is no sense of actual danger. In the cartoon, sure, okay, you could argue that the cartoon was very much a product of its time, but at least for a kid, and at least the way they presented it, with a breezy pace, the Nightmare King felt like he could actually do some shit. This Nightmare doesn't do anything. He just kind of does smoky stuff and... That's all he does. That's all he goddamn does. There's nothing really to this. And the movie just ends up being an uninspired, lazy, and at times irritating mess when it comes to the humor. Again, outside of the emotional part of reuniting with dad and coming to grips with your past and realizing there are good people out there, that could get you. That could get you, and that was fine. That was dealt with in a pretty, reasonable way. A little bit sappy, sure, but not that bad. But the rest of it just wasn't good. I mean, the special effects are kind of sloppy. There was a stuffed pig that... was, I guess, probably the most fleshed out character in the goddamn movie, despite the fact it was stuffed. It was like one of those zip-up pigs that you keep shit in. Everything else there, I don't know. There was Agent Green. Not going to attempt to pronounce her name. You look it up, you'll probably figure out why. Worsha Opia. Worsha Opia. That's probably totally goddamn off. I'm sorry. She was alright. Yeah, the movie doesn't end up being very good. That's really all I gotta say there. The tossing back between the real world and the dream world, they're trying to flesh out the story of Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. Unfortunately, it doesn't end up really accomplishing that. That's all I really gotta say. So, yeah, let's just get into spoilers here. It's on Netflix. You can check it out if you want, but that's really all I gotta say about that without spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay. So Nemo realizes eventually that Flip, the reason that he keeps living in the dream world, he tells her, well, I don't remember who I am, so I want to get one of these pearls and eventually remember who the hell I am. Flip is Philip. Philip is Flip. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Oh my god, Einhorn is a man. Man, Ace Ventura has not aged all that well, has it? That's it right there, and Philip has to remember who he is, Flip has to remember who Philip is, and they have to come together right now to save Nemo. And she gets one pearl and ends up saving Flip from being consumed by the nightmare. Tells him to wake up. And that's the one pearl she had from the pig. Now, a little bit earlier, this Agent Green was trying to get Nemo to understand that, look, the dreams we give you, because we give you all these dreams. We give you all these dreams in the dream world. Not the dreams you want, but the dreams you need to send you on the journey that you, well, need. And then it turns out that the pig actually had another pearl. It's like truffles. Not like the truffle pig from Pig, which was great. Sad, but great. It's a pearl pig. And here another one is Peppa Pearl Pig. Bet you didn't expect a Peppa Pig reference here. And basically what ends up happening is she wishes to see her dad. She sees her dad. This kind of got me. Because anybody that has a parent, okay, this was some good stuff. This is where the movie actually hits. And it prevents it from being an absolute total loss. And they end up talking, and he basically says, look, kid, you've done great. You gotta live your life, though. I'm not here anymore. You can visit me in your dreams, but don't let it stop you from living a life. So there you go. She's reunited with Philip because there's this point where she's shipwrecked. He remembers who he is, and as Philip, he dives in, saves her. And then everybody's saved, and she's at school, friends with a kid that decided to grow mushrooms in a basement. Jamal, I believe his name was. So many of the characters didn't actually mean anything. Actually, that's the funniest thing. It was pulled in so many different directions, and it didn't accomplish all that much. And that's it. That's really about it right there. They hinted at a possible sequel, maybe, kind of, sort of, but we'll see. Her and Philip, it's the father that she didn't know she could have, and he didn't know that he could have a daughter or a niece or whatever it is. C, it gets a C. I was going to give it a bit of a lower grade. But I'm like, you know what? Can't fault the emotional stuff, and at least the director somewhat tried, but it still wasn't very good. Lazy, uninspired, gets a C for the emotional stuff. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.